The wine glass shattered against marble tile. Serena Duval's hands froze mid-reach, red liquid spreading like blood across the floor of Rivaline Brasserie. A woman in pearls glared down at her, lips twisted in disgust. "Do you people even know how to hold a tray?" The words cut through the dinner chatter. 40 tables, 80 eyes, all watching the black girl in the stained uniform drop to her knees. Serena's jaw tightened. She grabbed the cloth from her apron, pressing it into the mess without looking up. Her phone buzzed in her pocket, third time in 10 minutes. She already knew what it was. The hospital. Again. "I'm so sorry, ma'am." Her voice came out steady. "Practiced. I'll bring you another immediately." The woman huffed, turning back to her date. Serena stood, balancing the broken glass on her tray, and walked toward the kitchen with her spine straight. She wouldn't give them the satisfaction of seeing her break. Inside the kitchen's fluorescent glare, she dumped the shards into the trash. Her phone buzzed again. She pulled it out with shaking fingers. St. Catherine Medical Center. Payment required for continued care. Call immediately. Hi viewers, kindly tell us where you're watching from and what time it is. The screen blurred. She blinked hard, shoving the phone back into her pocket. Her shift didn't end for another 4 hours. 4 hours of smiling while her mother lay in a hospital bed 20 miles away, hooked to machines that beeped with every labored breath. Duval. The manager's voice cracked like a whip. Table 12 needs service. Move. She grabbed a fresh bottle of wine, the kind that cost more than her weekly rent, and pushed back through the swinging doors. The dining room hummed with wealth. Crystal chandeliers, silk tablecloths, men in suits that could pay for her mother's treatment without blinking. Table 12 sat near the window. A couple in their 50s, the kind who wore their money like armor. Serena approached with the bottle tilted just right, her smile locked in place. "Your Chateau Margaux, sir." The man didn't look at her. He waved his hand dismissively, already deep in conversation about stock portfolios and summer homes in the Hamptons. She poured in silence, becoming invisible the way staff always did in places like this. Her pocket buzzed again. Her hand jerked. Wine splashed onto the white tablecloth. Just a drop, but enough. The man's head snapped up. "Are you serious right now?" "I apologize, sir." "Let me. Do you have any idea how much this meal costs?" His voice rose, pulling attention from nearby tables. "I expect basic competence. Is that too much to ask?" Heat crawled up Serena's neck. She set the bottle down carefully, reaching for her cloth. "I'll take care of it immediately, sir." Again, my deepest. "Forget it." He stood abruptly, throwing his napkin onto his plate. "We're leaving. This is unacceptable." His wife followed, shooting Serena a look of pure contempt. They swept past her toward the exit, and Serena stood there with the cloth in her hand, watching $300 walk out the door. The manager appeared at her elbow within seconds. His face was red, jaw clenched. "My office." Now. She followed him through the kitchen, past the line cooks who pretended not to notice, into a cramped room that smelled like old coffee and disappointment. He didn't sit. Neither did she. "That's the second incident this week, Duval." "I know. I'm sorry." "It won't. I don't care about sorry." He crossed his arms. "You're distracted. Sloppy. Customers are complaining." Her phone buzzed in her pocket. She fought the urge to check it. "I need this job," she said quietly. "Please. I'll do better." He studied her for a long moment, then sighed. "One more mistake, and you're done." "Understood." She nodded. "Get back out there." Serena returned to the floor, moving through the rest of her shift like a ghost. She refilled water glasses, cleared plates, smiled at people who looked through her like she was furniture. Where her phone buzzed again, she ignored it. When it buzzed a 5th time, she excused herself to the bathroom and finally looked. "St. Catherine Medical Center. Your mother's insurance claim has been denied. Full payment required within 24 hours or services will be discontinued." The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. Her reflection stared back from the mirror. Dark circles under her eyes, hair falling loose from its bun. The stain on her uniform she hadn't had time to change. She looked like exhaustion had carved her from stone. 24 hours. She had $300 in her checking account. Her mother's treatment cost $8,000 per week. The bathroom door swung open. Another server rushed in, barely glancing at her as she fixed her lipstick. Serena straightened, smoothed her uniform, and walked back into the dining room. The rest of the shift passed in a blur of mechanical motions. Smile. Pool. Clear. Repeat. When the last table finally left and she counted her tips, she had $63 and change. She took the bus home in the dark. The city rolled past the smudged windows, buildings that touched the sky, lights that promised warmth she couldn't afford. Her stop came too soon. The apartment building sagged against the night like a broken promise. Peeling paint, cracked stairs, a notice taped to her door in bright orange. Final eviction warning. Inside, the silence pressed against her ears. No medical equipment beeping. No labored breathing. Just empty rooms that still smelled like her mother's lavender lotion. Serena sat on the couch, the one they bought at a yard sale 10 years ago, and stared at her phone. Called the hospital. Begged them for more time. Explained that she just needed another week to figure something out, to find money that didn't exist, to perform a miracle that only happened to other people. Her thumb hovered over the number. Instead, she set the phone down and buried her face in her hands. Outside, sirens wailed in the distance. Someone shouted on the street below. The refrigerator hummed its broken song. And Serena Duval learned what drowning felt like on dry land. What would you do if the system that promised to protect you became the thing that destroyed you? The hospital director's office smelled like leather and lies. Serena sat in a chair designed to make visitors feel small, her purse clutched in her lap like a shield. Across the mahogany desk, Harrison Vale scrolled through his computer with the bored expression of a man checking his grocery list. Ms. Duval. He didn't look up. I assume you received our messages. I did. Her voice came out steadier than she felt. That's why I'm here. To discuss payment options. Now he looked at her. His eyes were the color of old coins. Flat, cold, transactional. He wore a suit that probably cost more than her car. His tie knotted with surgical precision. There are no payment options. He leaned back in his chair. Your mother's insurance company denied the claim. The bill is now your responsibility. $8,462, to be exact. The number hit her like a fist. I don't have that kind of money. Then we have a problem. Serena's fingers tightened on her purse. My mother is on life support. She needs dialysis. The doctors said. The doctors work for this hospital. Vale's tone didn't shift. And this hospital operates on payment, not charity. We've provided 3 days of care without compensation. That ends today. I'm asking for more time. The words scraped her throat. 1 week. I can get the money. I just need 1 week. He smiled. It was worse than his coldness. Ms. Duval, do you know how a hospital works? We have bills, salaries, equipment costs. We can't simply donate expensive care because someone has a sad story. Heat flooded her face. This isn't a story. This is my mother's life. And this is my hospital. He closed his laptop with a decisive click. I'm sympathetic to your situation, truly. But sympathy doesn't keep the lights on. Serena stood, her chair scraping against polished floor. What kind of person looks someone in the eye and tells them their mother has to die because she's poor? Vale stood too, buttoning his jacket with practiced ease. The kind who understands how the world actually works. He walked to the door, opening it in clear dismissal. You have until 5 o'clock today. After that, we'll move your mother to County General. They have limited resources, but they're required to take indigent cases. The word indigent landed like a slap. Please. The word broke on her lips. I'm begging you. His expression didn't flicker. 5 o'clock, Ms. Duval. She walked out on legs that felt like water. The hallway stretched endlessly. White walls, fluorescent lights, the antiseptic smell of a place where people came to be saved or sorted. Nurses moved past her with purpose. Doctors checked tablets, discussed cases in low voices. None of them looked at the girl, crying by the elevator. Serena found her mother's room by muscle memory. Room 407. The machines beeped their steady rhythm. Heartbeat, oxygen, the mechanical breathing that kept life tethered to a failing body. Her mother lay small against white sheets. Gray had taken over her hair. Her skin looked paper-thin, bruised from needle sticks. But when Serena took her hand, her mother's eyes opened. "Baby," the word came out weak. "You should be at work." "I am working." Serena forced a smile. "I'm working on getting you better." Her mother's fingers squeezed hers with surprising strength. "Don't lie to your mama. I heard the nurses talking." The smile crumbled. "We're going to figure it out," Serena whispered. "I promise." "Some promises aren't yours to keep." Her mother's breathing hitched, the machines compensating. "I am tired, Serena." "So tired." "Don't say that. Listen to me." Her mother's grip tightened. "When I'm gone." "Stop." "When I'm gone, you don't carry this. You don't let bitterness make you hard. You stay soft where it matters. You hear me?" Tears blurred everything. Serena nodded, unable to speak. They sat in silence, broken only by machines. Outside the window, the city went about its business. People rushing to meetings, grabbing coffee, complaining about traffic. The world kept spinning while hers ground to a halt. At 4:45, two nurses entered the room. They moved with professional efficiency, checking monitors, preparing for transfer. "We need to prep her for transport," the older one said gently. "County General is expecting her by 6. Serena stood. "Can I have one more minute?" The nurse hesitated, then nodded. 1 minute. Serena leaned over her mother, pressing her forehead against hers. "I love you." Her mother's lips moved, forming words that never found sound. Then they wheeled her away. Serena stood in the empty room, staring at the stripped bed, the silent machines, the indent in the pillow where her mother's head had rested. The smell of lavender lotion lingered, faint, stubborn, refusing to be erased. She walked to the elevator, pressed the button, waited. Harrison Vale appeared in the hallway, his leather briefcase in hand, checking his watch as he headed toward the parking garage. He looked like a man whose biggest concern was making his dinner reservation. He didn't see her, or he saw her and didn't care. The elevator doors opened. Serena stepped inside, watching his back disappear around the corner. She pressed the button for the ground floor. As the doors closed, something inside her closed too. Not her heart, that still beat, still ached, but something else. Some belief that had kept her soft, kept her trusting, kept her thinking the world operated on fairness. The elevator descended, and Serena Duval realized that sometimes the cruelest people don't carry guns or knives. Sometimes they carry briefcases and wear expensive suits. Sometimes they smile while they let you drown. Have you ever watched someone with power use it to crush someone with none? The man in the white suit moved like smoke through the restaurant. Serena noticed him because everyone noticed him, the way prey notices a predator. Conversations didn't stop when he entered. They adjusted, lowered, careful. He sat alone at table 7, the corner booth where light hit just right. White suit, white shirt, no tie. His skin was olive, his hair dark and perfectly kept. He could have been 35 or 50. Age sat differently on men like him. "Who is that?" Serena whispered to Marcus, the senior server who'd worked Riverline for 15 years. Marcus didn't look. "Nobody you want to know." "That's not an answer. It's the only answer you're getting." Marcus grabbed his tray. "Stay away from table 7. I'll handle it." But Marcus couldn't handle every table. The Friday night rush hit like a tidal wave. Reservations stacked, kitchen backed up, customers getting impatient. When the hostess set a 4-top in Serena's section right next to table 7, geography made decisions for her. She approached the white suits table first. Protocol. He'd been sitting longer. "Good evening, sir. Can I start you with something to drink?" He looked up. His eyes were dark, not brown, something deeper. The kind of eyes that didn't blink often, that tracked movement the way security cameras did. "Water." His voice was quiet, not soft, quiet, like it didn't need volume to be heard. "No ice." "Of course." She poured from the bottle at his table, hands steady despite the weight of his attention. "Would you like to hear tonight's specials?" "No." She waited for more. Nothing came. "I'll give you a few minutes to look at the menu." He nodded once. Dismissal. Serena moved to her 4-top, a business dinner for men in suits arguing about market projections. They ordered without looking at her, snapping fingers when they needed refills. The kind of table that tipped 10% and called it generous. She was refilling their water when one of them grabbed her wrist. "Sweetheart." His breath smelled like bourbon. "You're not paying attention." I said no ice. His glass clearly had no ice. "Yes, sir. No ice." That's what I poured. His grip tightened. "Don't correct me." Heat crept up her neck. Other diners were looking now. The manager would appear any second if she made a scene. "My apologies, sir. Let me get you a fresh glass." "That's better." He released her, laughing with his colleagues about something she didn't hear. Serena walked to the service station, her wrist throbbing. She poured in new water, still no ice, and returned with a smile that felt like broken glass. The rest of the night blurred. Orders. Complaints. A woman sent back her salmon twice. A man argued about the wine vintage. Someone's credit card declined, and they blamed her for embarrassing them. Through it all, the man in white sat perfectly still. He never checked his phone, never fidgeted. Just watched the restaurant like he was reading a book written in people. At 10:30, he raised his hand. Not urgently, just raised it. Serena approached. "Yes, sir." The check. She placed it on the table. $93 for a steak he'd barely touched. He pulled out a money clip, counted out $500 bills, and set them on top of the leather folder. Her eyes widened. "Sir, your total is—" "I know what it is." "The change." "Keep it." He stood, buttoning his jacket with one hand. For a moment, he looked directly at her. Not at her body, not through her, at her, like he was memorizing something important. Then he walked out. Serena stared at the bills. $407. More than she made in tips all week. Lucky girl. Marcus appeared at her elbow. "Mr. Arminetti doesn't tip like that often." Arminetti? The name sounded familiar. Something she'd heard in whispers, in news stories half remembered. Marcus's expression went carefully blank. "Forget I said anything." "And Serena?" He leaned closer. "Whatever you do, don't go looking for information about him. Some questions have dangerous answers." The rest of the night, she couldn't stop thinking about the man in white. The way he'd watched. The way everyone else had pretended not to watch him. The money. Too much money. The kind that came with strings, even when no word was spoken. At closing, she counted her tips twice. The bills were real. She took the late bus home, the $400 folded in her pocket like a secret. The night air bit cold. Chicago in November felt like the city was preparing for battle. Wind off the lake, clouds promising snow, everyone hunched against the coming freeze. Her phone buzzed. St. Catherine Medical Center. Your mother was transferred to County General at 6:47 p.m. Contact their billing department for further information. She'd already called county. 30-minute wait times. Overwhelmed staff. Beds in hallways. They'd do what they could, they said. But resources were limited. Limited. The word people used when they meant not enough. The bus dropped her 6 blocks from home. She walked fast, keys between her fingers like her mother taught her. The neighborhood wasn't terrible, but terrible had a way of spreading after dark. She was half a block from her building when footsteps echoed behind her. Serena didn't turn, didn't run, just kept walking, hand tightening on her keys. The footsteps got closer. Her building was right there. 20 feet. 15. A hand grabbed her shoulder. She spun, keys up, ready to fight. A young guy stood there, early 20s, jittery, eyes too wide. "Your purse. Give me your purse." "I don't have anything." "Don't lie to me." His hand dove into his jacket. Serena's heart hammered against her ribs. The street was empty. No weaknesses. No help. She started a hand over her purse. The $400 inside. Money she needed, but not worth dying for. Headlights cut through the dark. A black car rolled up, silent as a shark. The back door opened. The man in white stepped out. He didn't run, didn't shout, just stood there in his perfect suit, hands in his pockets, and looked at the kid trying to rob her. "Walk away," he said quietly. The kid's hand froze. His face went pale. "Mr. Arminetti." I wasn't." "Walk away." The kid ran. Serena stood there shaking, keys still clutched in her fist. The man in white, Arminetti, turned his attention to her. "Get in the car." Her mind screamed no. Every warning, every news story, every whispered rumor about men like him. But her body knew what her mind didn't. She got in the car. When a monster saves you from a monster, which one do you trust? The car smelled like leather and expensive cologne. Serena pressed herself against the door, keys still in her hand, watching the man in white settle into the seat across from her. The driver pulled away from the curb without being told. No questions. No hesitation. You should have screamed. Armanetti's voice cut through the silence. What? When that kid grabbed you. You should have screamed. He studied her like she was a puzzle missing pieces. Why didn't you? Screaming doesn't work in my neighborhood. People don't come when you yell. They close their windows. Something flickered across his face. Not sympathy, recognition. Where do you live? She told him. He nodded to the driver, a man who looked like he ate problems for breakfast. The car turned left instead of right. That's the wrong way, Serena said. Your building has a broken lock on the front entrance. I'm taking you somewhere the lock works. How do you know my building has a broken lock? He didn't answer. The city rolled past the tinted windows. They left her neighborhood behind. The check cashing places, the barred windows, the murals painted over gang tags. The buildings got taller, cleaner, the kind of clean that costs money to maintain. I don't understand what's happening. Serena's voice came out smaller than she wanted. Why did you help me? Because I was there. That's not a reason. It's the only reason that matters. The car stopped in front of her building anyway. He'd circle back, making a point. Get out, he said. She reached for the door handle. Ms. Duval. She froze. He knew her name. The money I gave you tonight. Don't spend it on rent. Her throat tightened. How old are you? Spend it on something that matters. Before she could respond, he leaned forward and opened her door from the inside. Cool air rushed in. She climbed out on shaking legs. The car pulled away before she could say thank you, or ask questions, or understand why a man everyone feared had just saved her twice in one night. Inside her apartment, Serena locked every lock, deadbolt, chain, the one her mother installed that only worked if you jiggled it right. She checked every window, closed every curtain. Then she sat on the couch and counted the $400 again. Don't spend it on rent. How did he know about her rent? About her mother? About anything? She thought about the way he'd sat in the restaurant. Watching. Always watching. Men like him notice things. Information was power. Power was survival. Her phone buzzed. County General. Your mother's condition has stabilized. Visiting hours resumed at 8 a.m. Relief hit her like a wave. Stabilized wasn't cured, wasn't safe, but it was breathing. It was time. She fell asleep on the couch, still dressed, for $100 clutched in her hand like a prayer. 3 days passed. Serena worked her shifts. Visited her mother in the crowded county hospital where nurses apologized for everything they couldn't do. Watched the bills pile up like accusations. The man in white didn't return to the restaurant. But on the fourth day, something else did. Serena arrived for her shift to find the entire staff buzzing. Whispers bounced between tables like electricity. Did you see? Channel 7 covered it. They said federal agents. Marcus grabbed her arm as she clocked in. You need to see this. He pulled up a news article on his phone. Prominent hospital director under federal investigation. Harrison Vale, director of St. Catherine Medical Center, is facing multiple charges including insurance fraud, patient discrimination, and financial misconduct. Federal agents raided his office early Monday morning, seizing records dating back 5 years. Serena's hands went numb. This investigation began following an anonymous tip, stated FBI spokesperson Jennifer Ross. We take allegations of medical discrimination very seriously, particularly when they involve vulnerable populations being denied care. The article included a photo. Harrison Vale in handcuffs, his expensive suit rumpled, his face pale with shock. The man who'd told her mother to die because she was poor, being led away by federal agents. They're saying he falsified insurance claims. Marcus continued. Pocketed the difference. Let people die while he bought vacation homes. Serena couldn't breathe. Anonymous tip. Someone had done this. Someone with enough power to make federal agents listen, to dig deep enough to find evidence, to bring down a man who thought he was untouchable. That night, the man in white returned. Table 7. Same seat. Same stillness. Serena's hands shook as she approached. Good evening, sir. Water, no ice. He nodded. She poured carefully, afraid she'd spill. When she set the glass down, he finally looked at her. "Your mother," he said quietly. "How is she?" The question shouldn't have surprised her. Nothing about him should surprise her anymore. "She's a county general. They're doing what they can." He reached into his jacket. She tensed. He pulled out a business card. Plain white. No name. Just a phone number. "Call this tomorrow. Ask for Dr. Reeves. He's expecting you." "I don't understand." "Your mother needs dialysis. Reeves specializes in kidney treatment. He's very good, and he doesn't care about insurance." Tears burned her eyes. "I can't afford. It's handled." "Why?" The word broke. "Why are you doing this?" For the first time, something almost human crossed his face. "Because someone should have." He stood, placed $500 on the table, and walked out. This time, Serena didn't let him get away. She followed him to the door, into the cool November night. His car idled at the curb, but he stood outside it, waiting, as if he'd known she'd follow. "I need to understand," she said. "Harrison Valley. The investigation. That was you." He didn't deny it. "Men like him think money makes them gods," he said quietly. "That they can decide who lives and who dies based on a bank balance." Someone needed to remind him he's human. "And you did." "I made a phone call. The FBI did the rest." She stepped closer. "What do you want from me?" The question hung between them like smoke. "Nothing." He opened his car door. "But if you ever need something, call the number I gave you. Don't use it lightly. And don't share it." He started to get in. "Wait." Her voice stopped him. "I don't even know your first name." He paused. "Luciano." "Luciano." She tested the name. It felt dangerous in her mouth. "Thank you." Something shifted in his expression. Barely visible, but there. "Don't thank me yet, Ms. Duval. Gratitude has a way of becoming complicated." He got in the car. It pulled away into Chicago's endless night. Serena stood on the sidewalk, a business card in her hand, questions multiplying like cells. She went back inside, finished her shift, caught the late bus home. But something had changed. Some balance had shifted in the universe. A powerful man had noticed her suffering and decided it mattered. The question was why, and what price that decision would eventually demand. Somewhere in this city, Harrison Vale sat in a cell. His empire crumbled because someone finally held him accountable. And somewhere in this city, Luciano Arminetti was probably already 10 moves ahead, playing a game Serena was only beginning to understand existed. She looked at the card in her hand. Then she put it in her purse. Not a decision. Not yet. But not a rejection either. Just a door she was choosing not to close. Behind her, through the restaurant window, she saw Marcus watching. He caught her eye, gave a small nod. "Be careful," his expression said. "Too late," hers answered back. She walked to the bus stop, her heels clicking against pavement, her mind racing through everything that had just happened. A man everyone feared had given her access to his private world. A debt she didn't ask for had become an invitation she couldn't quite refuse. And somewhere between thank you and goodbye, the trajectory of her entire life had shifted. The bus arrived. She climbed on, sat in the back. As the city rolled past, she thought about her mother's words. Sometimes opportunities look scary because they're unfamiliar. But what her mother didn't know, what Serena was only now beginning to understand, was that some opportunities weren't just unfamiliar. They were dangerous. And danger, she was learning, had a way of looking like salvation until you were too deep to tell the difference. What would you do if the person who saved you was the same person everyone told you to fear? The envelope was taped to her apartment door. No posti, no return address, just her name written in precise black ink, Serena Duval. She ripped it open, standing in the hallway. Inside, a single newspaper clipping and a handwritten note. The clipping showed Harrison Vale's mugshot. Below it, circled in red, sentencing hearing postponed, witness intimidation suspected. The note read, "He's trying to bury this. Some people don't stay buried. Be careful. Ed." Serena's hands shook. She'd thought it was over. Vale arrested, justice served, her mother safe. But men with money didn't fall quietly. They clawed their way back up, dragging everyone down with them. Inside her apartment, she locked the door and called the number Dr. Reeves had given her weeks ago. The one for emergencies. He answered on the first ring. "Ms. Duval, is your mother all right?" She's fine, but I got a warning. About Harrison Vale. Silence stretched. Then, Mr. Armanetti will want to know about this. Do you have his card? The business card burned in her purse like evidence. Yes. Use it. Tonight. He hung up. Serena stared at her phone. Using that number meant crossing a line she couldn't uncross. It meant accepting that her life had already changed, whether she was ready or not. She pulled out Luciano's card. Her thumb hovered over the digits. 3 rings. Then his voice, quiet and controlled. Ms. Duval, how did you know it was me? I know everything that matters. What happened? She told him about the envelope, the warning, the fear creeping up her spine like frost. Where are you right now? He asked. Home. Pack a bag. You're not staying there tonight. I can't just leave. Vale hired a private investigator. He knows where you live, where you work, where your mother is being treated. He's building a case that you fabricated evidence against him. And desperate men do desperate things. Her blood ran cold. My mother, already protected. Dr. Reeves moved her to a private facility an hour ago. She's safe. Without asking me. I don't ask permission to protect people. His tone hardened. I'm sending a car. Be ready in 20 minutes. Wait. The line went dead. Serena stood frozen, her mind racing. This was happening too fast. Control slipping through her fingers like water. But Vale knew where she lived, knew where her mother was. And men like him didn't make threats, they made examples. She packed. Exactly 19 minutes later, a black car pulled up outside. The same driver from before. He didn't speak, just opened the back door and waited. Serena climbed in, her overnight bag clutched against her chest. They drove through Chicago's nighttime maze, away from her neighborhood, toward the part of the city where buildings touched clouds and money whispered instead of shouted. The car stopped in front of a high-rise that looked like it cost more than her entire zip code. The driver handed her a key card. 18th floor, Unit 1804. Everything you need is there. For how long? He didn't answer, just drove away. Inside, the lobby was all marble and intimidation. A doorman nodded like he'd been expecting her. The elevator moved so smoothly, she barely felt it rise. Unit 1804 was a fortress disguised as luxury. Floor-to-ceiling windows. Furniture that looked museum quality. A kitchen her entire apartment could fit inside. And on the counter, another note. Stay here until I say otherwise. Don't open the door for anyone. Don't leave. Don't contact anyone except me or Dr. Reeves. This isn't a prison. It's protection. The difference matters. Ed. Serena walked to the windows. The city sprawled below like scattered diamonds. From up here, everything looked beautiful, manageable, safe. But she knew better now. Safety was just another word for control danger. She pulled out her phone, typed a message to the only number that mattered now. How long do I have to hide? The response came immediately. Until Vale learns that some battles can't be won. Could be days. Could be weeks. Depends how smart he is. And if he's not smart, then it won't take long at all. The cryptic answer settled in her stomach like lead. When protection feels like captivity, how do you know if you're being saved or claimed? 5 days passed in the glass tower. Serena woke on the 6th morning to find Luciano sitting in her living room. She stumbled out of the bedroom in borrowed pajamas, her heart hammering. How did you get in here? I own the building. He sat in the chair by the window, still wearing that white suit, looking like he hadn't slept. Or didn't need to. We need talk. She wrapped her arms around herself. About what? Harrison Vale is dead. The words hit like a physical blow. What? Heart attack. Last night in his holding cell. Luciano's expression gave nothing away. Very unfortunate. Very convenient. Serena's knees went weak. She sank onto the couch. Did you? No. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. But the people he hired to intimidate witnesses, they think I did. Which means they think you're connected to me. Which makes you a target. I didn't ask for this. No. You asked to say thank you. And I accepted. Now we both live with the consequences. His bluntness cut through her shock. So what happens now? She asked. Now you make a choice. He stood, walking to the window. The morning light caught his profile, sharp, controlled, dangerous. You could go back to your old life. I'll make sure you're safe. New apartment. New job if you want it. Clean break. Or, he turned to face her. Where you stay in this world. Learn how it works. Understand that power isn't evil. It's a tool. And tools can build or destroy depending on who wields them. You're asking me to work for you. I'm offering you a choice most people never get. To stop being powerless. Serena stood, anger flaring. I was never powerless. I survived. I took care of my mother. You begged a man in a suit to save your mother's life, and he laughed at you. Luciano's voice stayed quiet, but the words landed like punches. That's not survival. That's endurance. There's a difference. And what? You'll teach me to be like you? Feared? Alone? I'll teach you that fear is just respect, moving faster than love. That being alone is better than being surrounded by people who'd sell you for convenience. That the world doesn't reward goodness, it rewards leverage. That's a terrible way to live. It's an honest way to live. He moved closer, not threatening, just present. Your mother is alive because I had leverage. Vale is dead because someone else had more. Everything in this world runs on power. The only question is whether you want to understand the game or keep pretending it doesn't exist. Serena's mind raced. Everything he said felt wrong, and true, and terrifying. I need time. You have until tomorrow. He walked toward the door, then paused. For what it's worth, Ms. Duval, most people would have taken the easy exit. The fact that you're even considering this tells me you already know which choice you're going to make. He left. Serena stood alone in the expensive apartment, watching the city wake up below. Her phone buzzed. Her mother, calling from the private facility. Baby, I'm coming home soon. Dr. Reeves says another week of treatment, and I can leave. Relief flooded through her. That's wonderful, Mama. How are you doing? You sound strange. Just tired. You working too hard again? Serena looked around the luxury apartment. At the life she'd never imagined. At the choice waiting like an open door. Something like that. They talked for a few more minutes. Small things, normal things, the kind of conversation that felt like breathing. When she hung up, Serena walked back to the window. Tomorrow she'd have to decide. Go back to struggling, to powerlessness dressed up as dignity. Or step into a world where she'd never be helpless again, but also never be entirely free. The city glittered below, beautiful and brutal, offering nothing it didn't demand payment for. And somewhere in that city, Luciano Arminetti was waiting for her answer, knowing probably what it would be before she did. Is choosing power over principal survival or surrender? The call came at midnight. There's someone here to see you. Luciano's voice was tight. Different. Lobby. Now. Serena threw on clothes and rode the elevator down, her heart in her throat. A woman waited by the marble fountain. Expensive coat. Cold eyes. She looked like she belonged in boardrooms where fortunes died. Serena Duval? The woman's smile was all edges. I'm Catherine Vale, Harrison's widow. Ice flooded Serena's veins. I know what you're thinking, Catherine continued, that I'm here for revenge. But I'm actually here to say thank you. What? My husband was a monster. You exposed him. Now I have his fortune and none of his shame. She pulled out an envelope. This is a check. $200,000. Conscience money. Blood money. Whatever you want to call it. Take it and disappear. Because the people my husband hired, they don't care that he's dead. They care that someone made them look weak. Serena stared at the envelope. I know you didn't kill him, but you started the chain of events that led to his death. In their world, that's the same thing. Catherine's expression softened slightly. Take the money. Leave Chicago. Start over somewhere they can't find you. And if I don't, then you're putting yourself and everyone you love in danger. She set the envelope on the fountain's edge. Luciano Arminetti can protect you from a lot of things. But he can't protect you from becoming exactly like him. She walked away, heels clicking against marble. Serena picked up the envelope. Inside, a check that could change everything. She went back upstairs and called Luciano. Catherine Vale was just here. Silence. Then, what did she offer you? $200,000 to leave town. Smart woman. Are you going to take it? Serena looked at the check, at the freedom it represented. The clean escape. No. Why not? Because running means they win. And I'm tired of losing to people who think money makes them gods. A pause. Then something that might have been approval. Meet me tomorrow. Noon. Same restaurant where this started. I'll show you what happens next. He hung up. Serena tore up the check and watched the pieces flutter into the trash. She'd made her choice. Not because she wanted power, because she was done being powerless. When you stop running from danger, does that make you brave or just tired of being afraid? The restaurant was empty when she arrived. Just Luciano at table 3, 2 coffee cups waiting. No staff, no weaknesses, just them and the decision hanging between them like smoke. She sat without being invited. I'm not doing this because I want to be like you, Serena said. I'm doing it because the system that was supposed to protect my mother tried to kill her. And the only reason she's alive is because someone outside that system cared enough to break it. Luciano slid a folder across the table. Open it. Inside were photographs, documents, evidence of corruption spreading through Chicago like rot. Politicians, hospital administrators, insurance executives. All connected, all protected. This is what you're entering, he said quietly. A war fought in boardrooms and back alleys, where justice is a commodity and mercy is weakness. And you want me to what? Join you. I want you to understand what you're joining. Because once you're in, there's no clean exit. No going back to the girl who just wanted to save her mother. Serena studied the documents, saw the scope of it, the enormity. How do we fight this? Carefully, strategically, by being smarter and more patient than they are. He leaned back, and by accepting that sometimes the only way to beat monsters is to become something they fear more. I won't hurt innocent people. Neither will I. But we will hurt guilty ones. And we won't apologize for it. She met his eyes, saw the weight he carried, the loneliness of being powerful and alone. What happens to me in this world? You become dangerous. People will fear you, trust you, use you if you let them. It's not a gentle life, but it's an honest one. Yes. She closed the folder, pushed it back across the table. When do we start? For the first time since she'd met him, Luciano Arminetti smiled. Small, genuine, almost human. We already have. What would you sacrifice to make sure no one else has to beg for mercy? 6 months later, Serena stood in a hospital boardroom, not as a victim, as a consultant hired to audit their patient care policies. The administrators didn't know who'd sent her, just that refusal meant federal investigation. She learned so much in those months. How power moved, how fear worked, how to make people listen without raising her voice. Luciano had been right. This world changed her, made her sharper, harder, more dangerous, but it also made her effective. 3 hospitals reformed their payment policies because of her work. 2 insurance executives resigned. Countless families got care they'd been denied. And her mother? Healthy, home, unaware of how her daughter had changed. Some nights, Serena wondered if she'd lost herself. Other nights, she knew she'd found exactly who she needed to be. Her phone buzzed. Luciano. Just 2 words, new target. She smiled. Not gentle, not innocent, but honest. The work continued. The war against cruel systems. The fight for people who couldn't fight themselves. And somewhere in Chicago's endless night, a woman who'd once begged for mercy now made powerful men nervous. Because Serena Duval had learned the most important lesson. Sometimes the most dangerous rescue is the one that gives you power you never asked for. And sometimes that power becomes exactly what the world needs. Even if it costs you everything you were to become who you need to be. If you had the power to change broken systems, would you use it? Even if it changed you forever? Subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss stories that inspire, empower, and remind us that justice sometimes wears unexpected faces. Share your thoughts in the comments. Your story might inspire someone who needs to hear it. Because we all deserve a chance to fight back. And sometimes that fight starts with a simple thank you that changes everything. When someone saves your life without asking for anything, does that mean the debt is forgiven or just deferred? The text came 3 weeks later. VIP reservation. Table 3. Saturday, 7 p.m. Dress formal. You're requested specifically. Serena stared at her phone in the break room, her stomach dropping like an elevator with cut cables. Requested specifically. Those words meant something in a place like Riverline. They meant someone with money wanted something. And when people with money wanted something from people without it, the transaction rarely felt fair. She showed Marcus the message. His expression went carefully neutral. You can say no. Can I? He didn't answer. They both knew how this worked. VIP requests weren't suggestions. They were instructions wrapped in velvet. Who is it? She asked. Management didn't say. Just that it's important you show up. He paused. And that you look nice. The last part made her skin crawl. That night, she stood in her tiny apartment staring at a closet that had nothing formal, nothing expensive, nothing suitable for whatever this was. Her mother's voice echoed from the hospital bed where she now rested. Better, stronger, Dr. Reeves performing miracles that insurance companies called too expensive. Baby, sometimes opportunities look scary because they're unfamiliar. Don't confuse fear with wisdom. Serena didn't know if this was opportunity or trap, but she knew she couldn't afford to say no. Saturday arrived like a deadline. Mrs. Althea, the elderly woman who did alterations in the building's basement, appeared at her door that morning with a garment bag. Heard you needed something special. She unzipped it carefully. This was mine back when special occasions still happened. Inside was a black silk blouse and a red pencil skirt. Simple, elegant. The kind of outfit that said confidence without shouting. I can't. You can and you will. Mrs. Althea's hands were gentle as she held the blouse up. Sometimes we need armor that doesn't look like armor. This is yours. Serena tried it on. It fit perfectly, like Mrs. Althea had known her measurements without measuring. Who told you? Serena asked. Mrs. Althea just smiled. Chicago has eyes everywhere, baby, and some of those eyes care about you. The words felt like a warning and a blessing tangled together. At 6:30, Serena stood outside Riverline Brasserie in borrowed clothes and bargain heels, her heart hammering against her ribs. The restaurant glowed like a jeweled box, golden light, elegant people, the kind of place that made you feel both welcomed and judged. She walked in. The hostess looked her up and down, then smiled. Ms. Duval, table 3 is ready. Follow me. The dining room felt different from this side. Not serving, being served. Every eye tracked her movement through the space. Staff who knew her, customers who didn't, all of them wondering who she was and why she mattered tonight. Table 3 sat near the windows. Candlelight, white tablecloth, 2-place settings, and Luciano Arminetti, waiting in a white suit that looked like it had never met a wrinkle. Serena's feet stopped working. He stood when he saw her. Old-fashioned manners from a man everyone whispered about. His expression gave nothing away. No smile, no warmth, just that steady attention that felt like being x-rayed. Other diners watched. Staff whispered behind hands. The whole restaurant seemed to hold its breath. This wasn't a date. This was theater, and everyone had front-row seats. Serena walked forward, each step requiring conscious effort. When she reached the table, she didn't sit, didn't speak, just looked at him, trying to understand what game was being played and what rules applied. Ms. Duval. His voice was quiet as always. Thank you for coming. Did I have a choice? Always. Though some choices have more expensive consequences than others. The honesty startled her. He gestured to the chair. Seat, please. She sat. A server materialized immediately. Not Marcus, someone senior, someone who probably made more in tips tonight than Serena made all month. He poured water, offered wine, disappeared before either of them responded. Silence stretched between them like a test. Why am I here? Serena finally asked. Because I wanted to see you outside the uniform. What? He studied her face the way jewelers study diamonds, looking for flaws, for value, for something worth the investment. You said thank you. In the parking lot. Do you remember? Yes. Most people don't thank me. They fear me. They obey me. They try to use me. But gratitude, his head tilted slightly. That's rare. So this is about gratitude. This is about understanding what you think you owe me. The bluntness cut through all the restaurant's elegance. I don't know what I owe you, Serena said carefully. You saved my mother. You destroyed a man who deserved it. You protected me from getting robbed. Those aren't small things. No, they're not. So, tell me, what's the price?" Something almost like respect flickered across his face. "The price," he said slowly, "is that you understand what kind of man I am. Not the man people whisper about. Not the reputation. The reality." He leaned forward slightly. The candlelight caught his eyes, making them darker. "I'm not a good man, Ms. Duval. I've done things that would horrify you. Hurt people who deserved it, and some who didn't. Built power on fear and blood and silence. The help I gave you? That's not redemption. That's me making a choice in a moment when I could afford to care." His voice never rose, never hardened, just laid out truth like cards on a table. "So when you say thank you, understand what you're thinking. And understand that accepting my help means entering a world where every gesture has weight, every connection has consequence, and gratitude can become obligation faster than you realize." Serena's mouth went dry. This wasn't a date. This was a warning, or a recruitment, or both. She looked around the restaurant, at the people pretending not to watch, at the staff moving with nervous precision, at the life she'd been living on one side of an invisible line. And she looked at the man across from her. Powerful, dangerous, the kind of person her mother would tell her to run from. But he'd saved her mother when no one else would. He'd brought justice when the system failed. He'd shown her that sometimes monsters protected you from bigger monsters. Serena leaned forward, close enough that only he could hear, close enough that the restaurant's ambient noise couldn't catch her words, close enough that her whisper felt like a secret. "I'm not here for romance," she said quietly. "I'm not here because I'm afraid of you. And I'm not here because I think I owe you something I can't pay." His eyes narrowed slightly. "Listening. I'm just here to say thank you." The words landed between them like a stone in still water. For 3 seconds, nothing moved. Not his expression, not his hands, not even the air seemed to circulate. Then his jaw tightened, just barely. A micro-expression that said her answer wasn't what he'd expected. "Sit back," he murmured. It wasn't a request. Serena eased back in her chair, heart pounding. Around them, the restaurant continued its elegant pantomime. Silverware on china, wine being poured, conversations about things that didn't matter to people who thought everything mattered. Luciano picked up his water glass, took a slow sip, set it down with precision. "You came here to say thank you." His tone was unreadable. "That's all. That's all. Most people would have asked for more. Protection, money, a way out of whatever hole they're in. I'm not most people. No." He studied her like she was a puzzle that had just rearranged its own pieces. "You're not." The server returned, hovering nervously. "Are we ready to order, or shall I give you more time?" "Give us a moment," Luciano said without looking at him. The server vanished. Serena's hands twisted in her lap under the table. Everything in this moment felt precarious, like she was walking a tightrope she couldn't see, over a drop she couldn't measure. "Your mother," Luciano said suddenly. "Dr. Reeves tells me she's responding well to treatment. She is. Because of you. Because she deserved a chance the system refused to give her." He leaned back in his chair, his white suit catching the candlelight. "That hospital director, Vale, he's facing 15 years federal prison. They found evidence of 43 patients denied care due to fabricated insurance issues. 43 people who suffered because one man decided profit mattered more than lives." Serena's throat tightened. 43. Your mother was number 44. She just had the misfortune of crossing paths with someone who noticed. Someone who cared enough to do something about it. Someone who had the power to do something about it. He corrected. Caring means nothing without leverage. The cynicism in his voice was matter of fact, not bitter, just experienced. "Is that why you wanted to see me tonight?" Serena asked. "To make sure I understood the difference between caring and power? I wanted to see if you'd come." "Why wouldn't I?" "Because smart people avoid men like me." His gaze locked on hers. "They hear the stories. They sense the danger. They make excuses and disappear into safer lives. Maybe I'm not smart. Or maybe you're smart enough to know that safety is an illusion. That the real danger isn't the man who shows you his teeth, It's the one who smiles while he buries you. Harrison Vale's face flashed through her memory. His polished suit, his cold smile, his casual dismissal of her mother's life. "You're right," she said quietly. The worst monsters were nice suits. Something shifted in Luciano's expression. Not softness, but recognition. As if she'd just passed a test she didn't know she was taking. He reached into his jacket. Serena tensed. He pulled out a single business card, different from the first one. This one had a name embossed in simple black letters. Luciano Arminetti. Below it, a phone number. He slid it across the table. "This is my private line. Not the doctor. Not an intermediary. Me." She stared at the card like it might explode. "I don't give this to many people," he continued. "The ones who have it understand what it means. Access, protection, but also consequence. If you call this number, I answer. And if I answer, you become part of a world that doesn't let go easily." Serena's hand hovered over the card. "Why would you give this to me?" "Because you walked into a room full of people who would kill for my attention, and you asked for nothing except to say thank you." He tilted his head slightly. "That kind of integrity is rare. And rare things have value. I'm not a thing. No, you're a person who survived a system designed to crush people like you. That makes you dangerous in ways you don't understand yet." She picked up the card. The paper felt heavier than it should. "What happens if I don't call?" "Nothing. You go back to your life. I go back to mine. The debt, if you believe there is one, stays unpaid. And we never speak again. And if I do call," his eyes held hers, "then you accept that sometimes justice requires people willing to work outside the lines. That protection costs something. That power doesn't exist in a vacuum. It flows between people who understand its weight." The restaurant noise seemed to fade. All Serena could hear was her own heartbeat and the quiet intensity in his voice. "I'm not asking you to decide tonight," Luciano said. "I'm asking you to understand what the decision means before you make it." The server reappeared, more nervous this time. "Shall I? We're finished here." Luciano stood, buttoning his jacket with one smooth motion. "Charge everything to my account." He looked down at Serena, still seated, still holding his card. "Thank you for coming, Ms. Duval. And thank you for your honesty. It's been a long time since anyone surprised me." He walked toward the exit. The restaurant parted for him like water around a ship. Conversations paused. Staff straightened. The world rearranged itself to accommodate his passage. Serena sat alone at table 3, a business card in her hand and 1,000 questions in her head. The server approached cautiously. "Miss, can I get you anything?" She looked up at him, at the expensive restaurant, at the life she'd been serving from the outside, at the precipice she was suddenly standing on. "Just a check for my water." "No charge, miss." Mr. Arminetti covered everything. Of course he did. She stood, smooth Mrs. Althea's borrowed skirt, and walked out of Rivaline Brasserie with her spine straight and her head high. Outside, the November air bit cold. Chicago's lights blazed against the darkness. Somewhere in this city, her mother was sleeping in a hospital bed, alive because a dangerous man had decided she mattered.